Okay. So I want to use the chip model or the charged particle model to represent the difference of two integers. And here I want to show -3 minus 6. So this is one of those illustrate and explain type problems. So another way I could phrase this would be illustrate and explain -3 minus -6 using differences and chips or charges. And in the app, we were given, let's see, yellow chips for positive and red chips for negative. So I'm just going to use pluses and minuses. So a plus is going to be a positive, and a minus is going to be a negative, and then a minus and a plus, or a plus and minus together, is a 0. Using differences is the comparison model. Comparison. As opposed to the takeaway model, and they look a little bit different. So I want to show the difference between -3 and -6 with a comparison. So compare -3 to -6 to find the difference. Oops. So in this case, since -3 is more to the right of -6, then another way I could state that is how much more is -3 than -6. So to do that, I have to draw -3. Yeah, I'll use red. So, right, so that's my set for -3. And I have to draw -6. Hopefully, I didn't read the rest of the directions on the problem. That could be a serious fault of mine, but I might go for this anyway and see what happens. And then to do the comparison, I need more chips here because I can't complete the comparison, right? So I could match up those two together, and I could match up those two together, and I could match up those two together, but then I start to run out. So then I have to throw in some zeros to make the comparison complete. So then I can say, all right, those two line up, and those two line up, and those two line up. Okay, so I got them all to match. So then the difference is whatever didn't match up should be that right there. So the difference of those two should be +3. Okay. The picture would look different if I used takeaway to get the difference. Usually difference means comparison. So let's just look at that for fun. Versus takeaway. So -3 minus -6. So in this case, from -3, take away -6. So I would start with -3. But then there's not enough to take away, so I got to rebuild that so that I can take away -6. So this is still -3, but now I'm going to throw in some zeros until I see a -6 in there. So this is still worth -3, but now I can take -6. So if I do so, choosing color to emphasize that, here is the -6 I'm going to take out, and then right there, that leaves +3. So notice how much different this picture is than that one right there. to get the answer. So they're pretty different illustrations, slightly different explanations. Let's go back and look at this problem and figure out which one it wanted, because I forgot to copy the rest of the information. Oops. There we go. All right, use chips to represent the difference of integers -3 minus -6. Yellow chips are positive, red chips are negative. Okay, so then we get some more instructions. First, represent the difference by setting up the takeaway model. Ah, look, I should have read further. All right, so that was my second version of this. And in the second version, what I did was, okay, I started with a set of -3. So I pull in my -3. But I can't quite take away -6. So now I want to show a version of -3 that I can. So then I have to put in some zeros. And you can put them anywhere you want. So this rectangle still represents -3 because that's a 0. This still represents -3 because that's another 0. If I bring in one more 0, I can now take away the -6. But I'm going to leave that there because they say, hey, just set it up there. Now down here, I show what's left. So if I take away those -6, that's going to leave just those +3. And most of you figured that out based on stuff we did in class with the explanation up here. So